last year's.
You grab one too.
Should we go ahead and start?
You bet.
Okay, so what I'll first do is we'll just go through this and we'll see if the goals were met from last year, and then we'll just go through this and fill it out. And then afterwards, so we don't take up your guys' time, I'll just go through the documentation.
Okay.
Okay. So, start out with, oh, I have some more, so here's, everybody get one?
Last year's one.
Okay, so last year the goals were set. Implement a report for identifying hazards with corrective actions. That's the goals for last year. that was set.
Last year.
Yes. There we go.
There's two of them, so,
Oh, is there?
yeah.
Well, then I'll have the other one then. Thank you.
Last year,
Yeah, very last page is the goal for last year. So the first one was to implement a report for identifying hazards with corrective actions.
This was an action report that we complete and then
No,
reflect
just,
corrective actions on for some reason.
For, like, if you have somebody reports a hazard, you have a form just to, hey, Brody, we were going to provide that.
Was that like the pictures that we got in all the shops and
What
everything?
we did, I
Yeah, you
gave,
did that.
I gave the Excel spreadsheet to identify them, the corrective actions.
Actions.
Well, and you guys are doing that too with your walkthrough, if we could, that could qualify too. Says that we're to identify hazards with corrective actions, and you guys are correcting those.
We've been identifying and correcting.
So they did technically meet that, because they've been doing their inspections with the inspection form that we created, but they're using it, and it's identifying the hazards and then correcting the hazards based on
Yeah,
that.
that's,
Which I've got right here.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah, I think we have.
yeah.
In which they have to do that anyway now, to
Yeah.
meet the similar requirements.
Verify sheriff's office for training documentation. That was the other goal. Were you able to do that?
That one was, last I knew I wasn't responsible for that one, because it's directed at the sheriff.
What?
But he has, I know he has training documentation, yes.
He has all of it over there. Because the guys go to training all the time. Yeah. You want it here too?
Well, he just needs the documentation so that we can just see what training's being done in all the departments.
So you want it sent to you?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to see what training, law enforcement training is all. Okay. And then we were going to verify, road pre-trip inspection documentation. That was for the road department. So, did you check that to see if they
I don't know what you're actually asking.
they're required to have pre-trip inspection documentation of it, that they do it on a daily basis. They're supposed to have documentation, just keep it. A lot of the,
Is there a form for that?
There is.
Well,
Was Brody?
It's the same as
was
you
it
can supply
he
uniforms.
I
or
can
inspection?
provide you guys
And you
with,
can visual
Yeah.
or
Are
It-
they
with
not
the-
using it? I did, are they not using it?
Don't know.
The worst thing about this is that then you get, I mean, it's a good deal, but then we get our guys tied up in there for so long.
so this is how the other counties seem to get it done, is, I know they're probably doing it, but just have that documentation, because they are required to have documentation of pre-trip
You can
of
get
their
it.
vehicles. But
Yeah, and I don't know, they might not be doing it, because Rory brought it to them, right?
Yeah, I gave them.
Mhm.
And there is a form that a lot of the counties use, and it's their daily log is what they use. On the front is the daily log of location where they're working, what equipment they're working on, and then on the back is the pre-trip, and then they find anything, they just mark it that they found something. And then at the end of the day, they usually sign off on it and turn it in, because it's not only their daily log, but it's documentation of their pre-trip. And then, also, with the reason I like this form, because on the end of the form, it says, did you have an injury today? So they usually will mark yes
Yeah.
or no.
So would you get us a copy of that?
I sure will.
That'd be great.
And then we'll take it up with Paul, but I know they're doing a lot more, because I've seen them do it.
Yeah,
And they talk about issues,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
Paul's the kind of guy that piece of equipment doesn't go off, it's back in the shop and they fix it.
Yeah. We just need to make sure
We're
there's
just,
stuff.
I'm not sure we're done. So let's go back to the sheriff's office.
Okay,
So this is an issue. We brought it up before. The sheriff is an elected official.
I know,
We don't work for him. He doesn't work for us.
yes.
Okay, so his post, peace officer standards and training requirements are set by the state of Montana.
Right.
And if you want to go over and ask the sheriff if he'll show you his personnel records, because that's where it's kept, so that's fine, but Rick can't.
Okay.
And, well, I'm just, because this is the way it's gonna have to be in this county, because this is the way it's gonna have to be. We're gonna respect the ability of the sheriff to run his shop,
Right.
and especially in training, okay?
Yeah.
There's information there you can't see, because it's criminal justice information, and it's not available to you. The training information,
Yeah,
okay?
it's all.
Well, but sometimes trainings are based on something that happened, you see what I'm saying, that he is not able to talk about. Why did you do this training? Well, because I'm the sheriff and you're not, that's why. So my point is, I think we should figure out a way that you should schedule a meeting with the sheriff, and sit down and say, generally what kind of training you're doing. And, does everybody participate? He can tell you that. And I guarantee, he runs a really good shop, but we're not his boss, and we're not gonna
Okay.
dictate things.
Yeah, I can do that.
All right, so that would work,
Yeah.
and you'll find him very good to work with, and he'll give you that information.
Right,
All
right.
Okay.
And then, let's see. Okay, we just schedule active shooter training and conduct office assessments and dealing with active shooter.
So we did that.
We definitely did that.
Yeah, we definitely, that was good, we all learned something, didn't we?
Yes, we bet we did.
Becky, did you go there? I thought you did.
We've got new evacuation policy and training on it.
That's not. Right.
Okay, awesome.
No, I actually think, was that a guy, did you guys send us, or MACo send us? Who sent us?
Homeland Security, wasn't it?
Homeland Security. is-
Homeland Security.
That's what we did.
Yeah.
All right, so.
This report. I think we did I give you one? I don't.
That was the second packet that he gave you, it's the last page.
No, they didn't.
Oh, you didn't give him the
Last
second?
page.
Yeah, I don't.
I got 2 copies of this.
Oh, the same one?
That's the same.
It's on the back page,
Well,
on the back page of that second.
Oh, I see, okay, I'm sorry.
Update. 31st, last day
Amelia, I just want to point out that on item number 2 that Commissioner Slaughter pointed out, they're doing that. Obviously, he's going through the steps and processes.
Yeah.
So all we need, if we need to just verify that
Yeah.
they're doing that training,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, I'll just,
Well,
meet
the
with them.
other thing is you probably will find it in the personnel file, so he'll want to break it apart, so.
Yeah, there's some things that are off limits for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
That's where, you know,
And
in
his-
each person, you want to make sure each officer did the training.
Right, right, and I know that they do ongoing training through the academy, but just like some of the, I'm just was curious, there are some requirements, like the bloodborne pathogen that they are required to do on an annual basis.
Qualification shooting, they do that.
Yes,
They get sent to them through the EMT class too.
Right, and they
Yeah.
have, but they have their local, what you're thinking is
and
the
I,
local training, and they're doing that, and he'll tell you.
okay,
And, you know, if there's something they're, you know, I don't know, they didn't do, or they, tell him, and he'll figure it out, he'll get it in there. They do a great job,
okay.
good job.
All right. Okay, so let's just quickly go through this. Does at least one commissioner attend the safety committee meeting?
Yes,
And do elected officials and department heads attend safety training?
yes.
Do department heads allow employees to attend safety training?
Yes.
And then are all departments part of this, the safety, or they're attending trainings? So you have your solid waste, your weed, your law enforcement, all of those are part of the safety program and are doing their training.
They do everybody does the monthly training, I guess I would say.
Yes.
And do employees recognize hazards and report them?
Yes.
Yes.
And how many meetings did you have this year?
One per quarter. That's just with the commission, right? But they had other meetings, departments had other meetings for sure.
Individual departments.
Yeah, well, like the road department has their own.
Yeah, they've been on the computer on there.
Right.
Brody has.
But this is your safety.
Yeah.
Yes, committee.
Yeah, yeah. And have documentation, minutes, agenda, and attendance.
Yes.
Yes.
And majority of committee members attend 75% of the time.
Yes.
Have safety committee activities that assist the employer of that kind.
What's that mean?
Well, are they assisting like in helping out with inspections?
Oh.
Or are they, they're involved in corrective actions?
Yeah, obviously that's happening. I mean, Rick is an employee and he's attendant to all of those types of activities, as well as the commissioners.
From what Rick finds during his inspections, the road crew were, they're fixing different departments.
Okay, and I know that you guys do your contractor safety check to see if contractors have certificate of insurance and making sure the independent contractors are exempt.
Commissioner Adler's meticulous about that. Most recently, they did an inspection on the subcontractors.
Oh. And you guys are doing your ongoing JSAs or reviewing them? Job safety analysis.
This would be Mike first, I know he's doing this.
Well, and I don't think, because you said in the past to do these for only their high-risk jobs.
Right, and
And
they'd
so,
be,
and they haven't really had anything that's come up because, at least within this last policy period, because if they do, Mike would always give me a call and I would usually take part of that process. But in the past, we have done that and Mike keeps them on file and does it well.
all I'm asking, just do a review of them, make sure that there's nothing they need to change. anything like that. And just the high-risk tasks, I'm not asking for on every task that they do, but anything that's really high risk. And I sent the list of which is considered high-risk tasks. And especially like seasonal, if you're doing seasonal, pull out that JSA and review it. And all you have to do, it only takes 5 or 10 minutes, but just a review, like for the road, let's say. Seasonal chainsaws are usually seasonal. So pull it out, let's talk about the hazards of the chainsaw. Let's talk about the maintenance and making sure the chain is sharp. And the PPE, what they need to be wearing, and hearing protection, and that type of stuff. So that is what I mean by reviewing the JSAs. Pull those out. Those are high-risk tasks, and they're really high risk because they're seasonal, because they don't do it often.
We don't have a ton of seasonal like weeds, and where else you guys? Once in a while on the
Dump.
road. What-
Solid waste.
Solid waste, yep.
Road we have, we talked about getting, solid waste. We're not.
We'll talk to Paul about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just, you're gonna start doing a task they haven't done, and let's just kind of review the hazards, what PPE you guys need to be wearing. And when you do that, that's considered training, so just document it, just attendance sheet, what the topic was.
Okay.
Workplace inspections, annual inspections and documentation findings with department head supervisor participation.
We just did all that in jail.
And you have an Excel tracking your findings of what you would, and the corrective actions.
Like that there.
We don't need, we don't have that many places, so I don't have an Excel sheet, I have each one filed.
Okay.
So they are tracking, we look at them every year, we go back and make sure they're correct.
Corrected. And you guys, did you have any near misses? I know you didn't have any claims.
No, I have no other miss.
So you guys, last year and this year, 0 claims.
So,
That's right.
Does that mean we're gonna get
So,
a big
Rick-
discount?
Rick, what would you call a gunfight on 990 where we took a round without even near this? Well, it would have been a hit. I know it's documented.
Well, it was obviously a miss.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Well, the workers' compensation.
But that was within this wasn't
liability. It wasn't a, your
Property.
auto insurance property. Yeah. That was a hit.
That's for sure.
It could have been a heck of a lot worse than it was.
Well, we were lucky there. Okay, so that, but that was within the last year or so. Was the only one.
So that wasn't a work comp, that was a liability.
Yeah,
It was
but I would have
Nobody
expected that would have been thoroughly investigated through the law enforcement agency.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I mean, if you sit down and talk with him directly, those are little different issues.
Yeah, I think the key thing there is learning from it.
Yeah.
What can you do in the future to possibly avoid it or prevent it?
So they have like a near miss on a night with deer. I mean,
No, and generally, if it's law enforcement, they've investigated, I don't follow up and
Yeah.
give it away if it's not part of
And again, that's his job.
That's his deal, that's what he does. And I guarantee you he's done.
No, I think he does too. I met him, and he seems like he's really on top of things. So, you guys didn't have any investigation to review. Committee review or trend analysis, well, didn't have any claims for the last couple of years. So you guys guys are doing a good job.
I guess in response to your question, Scott, the modification rates should come down as you continue having no or few losses in workers' comp. I'm not sure where you are now.
Well, being that it's a county, MACo, don't it go through all the counties, and if somebody else has a big one, we have to pay for that too?
Well, it just kind of raises incrementally the rates for the pool, but as your rates go down, you're gonna get a direct discount. It's on a 3-year average, not counting the most recent partial
Is
year.
that for that, remember when we have our insurance on the jail?
Yup, that's true. I was thinking of near Mrs. How about the road grader hitting the 2 cars? That's
So,
on the road.
it ain't a pump.
Wasn't
But you know what, you still can address those and come up with solutions, whether they're work comp or liability,
Yeah, it was.
yeah.
Well, the road supervisor did a report. I think we
Yeah,
changed
it's
the little
all
policy about trying to help people clear their driveways.
Okay, so, I'll send that pre-trip form for you guys.
Well, Scott, where would they keep that? Just in each individual truck? Or?
Whatever, yeah, well, they should keep it in the file right in the mornings when they go in, just have a big pile of them, and you go, and then when they're done, we gotta put it right back in the Kaylee file, just shove it in there, and it's always there. And then at the end of the month, he could bring them up to us,
Okay,
or he'll have them on, put them in his file.
okay. We did.
Otherwise, you're trying to put them in each truck, we got different drivers in each truck.
Yeah,
so
that would be
it'd
confusing.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you do want to keep it for the day in the truck. Let me just tell you the reason for that. Let's say they're involved in an incident, and so now there's law enforcement involved and the
I didn't think you had to have it in the truck with the Department of Transportation.
they do if they're not gonna check you unless you're in an incident.
Yeah, but as long as you have a document in a file that's in your
Yeah.
office or whatever, you don't have to have it in your truck.
So here's the issue. Those guys are 5 trucks a day.
Oh, they're.
2 road graders, 5 trucks, a water truck, you know, see what I'm saying? Roller, they just, they go in different pieces of
They
equipment.
rotate on.
That's why I asked that.
Yeah, well, I have never really checked on that, but I'm just going by what other counties.
Here's my question. Does
Yeah.
it go with the employee or does it go with the piece of equipment?
I think it just goes with the piece of equipment. So,
You'll see what I'm saying.
yeah,
So every time he changes,
changes,
He's
so.
gotta make a report.
doesn't walk around, he does it on every piece of equipment he gets.
So
in
you've
there.
got a whole bunch of, that's where we're gonna get, the state don't, they pre-inspect every morning, that's all they're saying you have to buy. If you
Right.
look in the CDL
That's what
laws,
you're doing, you're
just do-
doing it in the morning, so is all the equipment just getting
Well, I'm sure before they even started, okay, they do
They
the
have
oil,
to,
and they do
yeah.
walk around, they do, okay.
They just
But
need the
employee
document
A
there.
does the road grader, employee B does the dump truck, employee C does the water truck, employee, okay?
Yeah.
So then, but by noon, they've all been in all those units again, you see what I'm saying?
So they trade off?
Well, yeah,
We don't
because
have to, we don't have to.
we don't have that many people and we have a lot of jobs.
But as long as they're pre-inspected in the mornings
Morning,
and
that's all you
documented,
need to
that's
do.
all.
That's all you need to do,
Right.
should be.
Okay, learn something every day. Very good.
And I just went through it,
Yeah.
Ah.
This is the plan, that's the first thing, passed on to Paul. This is where that has.
As long as he has the documentation there for him to grab in the mornings for the big walk through it, with good oil, good, you know, and then just set it back on the desk there where he's at. That's all you have to have, they say.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what
what
it says in
makes sense
that,
for DOT requirements, so I would just, yeah, that should
Okay,
suffice.
well, we'll see what the documentation looks like.
It's
I'll
pretty,
send you a
it's a
form.
long one.
Well, it's really, actually, it's,
Can be almost postcard size.
yeah,
I mean,
it's a postcard, and it has a front
See
with,
that,
and
your
then the
state
back.
has a big piece of paper, which is this
Oh,
long.
yeah,
And
Well,
you
send
gotta
us,
go through.
send us what you got, and
Okay.
we'll adopt it.
yeah.
I do have this long one, so
I
we
would
can
too.
get it through and then get to work, otherwise
Yeah,
here we can pay them to do,
yeah.
be better off to hire somebody to come in and do a re-inspection every morning.
Every morning,
That would
on everything.
all the work.
Documentation of scheduled maintenance of equipment.
That'd be in that.
And documentation and reporting system for identifying hazards, and that's what I was saying, what are you guys using? What form are they using if they wanna report something?
They usually tell the supervisor and write it down, or they fix it right away. So if there's a hazard, say there's a broken brake, they can't go anywhere, so they fix it right away. But you're gonna want them to do.
No, that's part of your pre-trip, this is for the whole county wide, as documentation for a reporting system for identifying hazards.
Oh, they tell the supervisor, and he writes it down, and gets hold of us, or gets hold of Northwest Energy. Is that what you mean? If
Part of
they
it's-
see a hazard or a road washed out or something, is that where you're going?
So do you guys have?
Part of
a
it's also,
system?
Amelia, in the inspection reports that Rick does, that Brody accompanies him. I mean, that is a documentation of identified hazards, and then they're taking corrective action. So part of that is being accomplished by virtue of the inspection reports that they're
Right.
performing.
What I'm looking for is, let's say, do you guys have a maintenance person?
Yeah.
Okay, do they fill out a form and say this needs to be, they identify this needs to be fixed? That is what I'm looking for.
Okay.
So, just documentation that your county employees have something to document if they identify a hazard.
Well, probably a lot of these are probably getting documented because don't they have to do work orders for them?
That's what we're looking for.
Do they do work orders for them?
Mhm. Yeah, to order the parts and stuff.
I don't understand, we don't do a work order.
No, but when they need something,
When they need something.
Oh,
you know, we file a
yeah,
claim,
sure,
or sign a
we
claim.
sign a
And I mean, would that, would you count that as documentation?
We
Because they're
do-
letting them know
Easy to
by ordering
find.
the parts.
So part of this is policy. We told Paul, we don't want you sending it, you got an issue with a piece of equipment, don't, go fix it. Park it, order the parts, or if you have the parts, fix it. And he follows that religiously. Stuff doesn't move down there sometimes. You kinda wonder why, but guess what's broken? He don't let them go use it until it's fixed. So I don't know how he documents that other than the parts that are ordered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're tracking that, I'm not concerned with it, it's just, this is just a county-wide form. If an employee, has something to report, is something filled out?
I've given these guys a report once in the past.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
That's for all employees.
And now what happens to that? Goes to MACo and
Mike probably would have that on file. Have you seen the report of the incident?
no, I haven't seen it.
So it sounds like, I mean, I think they do have a system in place, because we are doing the annual inspections, and the employees are reporting the situations. They're just not using that specific report.
We just
incident
need
report.
documentation that it's been done, is all I'm asking. Do you have a system in place to, when somebody reports something that's documented, and it documented that it was corrected?
So, but,
That's part of the pre-trip inspection, that's another way of identifying hazards. but when somebody reports, do you have a report that that person
But I think
fills
you
out?
need to clarify on what you actually want, because you're.
It's just a report. There's two, the inspections is one area you identify hazards. A report for an employee, like if I found something, let's say there's let's see, the stairs is edge of the stair, or the rail is loose, and I want to report that to is it documented that what was reported, and was it
It'd be in the
documented?
minutes if they come in here, and it'd be on the minutes.
Yeah,
So, but we want what I'm saying, we want a form to document that.
So what do you want on the form? Do you want just an incident?
You can use
report
an
form?
incident report to do that.
Okay, because you gotta kind of clarify what you want,
Yeah.
because you're saying like 3 or 4 different forms are acceptable, so.
yeah, you know, you gotta remember, okay, there's less than 3,500 people in this county. Okay, the county commission meets once a week. We have to give our employees and supervisors a ton of responsibility to fix this stuff, okay? So, for example, the carpet was bad coming in and gonna kill somebody. And Commissioner Adler came and goes, boy, it really is bad. So we had the custodian come up and she goes, yep, I agree with you, how do you wanna fix it? We decided, it's in the minutes, we fixed it. And we said, we want it done ASAP. And, does that make sense? Okay,
Yeah.
just an example, the
It's been
strips.
documented, it's in the
And it's in the minutes, I mean, so, I can understand if you've got thousands of employees and people coming and going and all kinds of supervisors, you gotta have all these report forms. I just don't know what we're gonna do with a stack of paper, it's never gonna get reviewed. We don't
He's gonna
wait,
handle,
okay, but we don't wait, we fix it,
yeah.
see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? We get it done.
Well, we hire them to work.
And, you know, and this, and you can do it another way too. So if when, you're tracking what was reported, if he's tracking it somewhere in, like, that's why I say an Excel spreadsheet, because it's all kept on one form of what your findings were, what was reported, and
The other-
when it was corrected.
The other thing, you guys, MACo, they have people, special people like you to do this stuff. We have road crew people. We don't, you know, we can't go out and hire somebody to walk along beside them and do their secretary work. I mean,
Yeah.
these guys are,
Good point. Our custodian here does inside, outside, everything, plants the
I'm
flowers,
I'm sure.
washes the dishes,
I'm not
she
trying to
does
be
everything.
rude or nothing, but I mean, when you start having these guys do, then we have them sitting behind a desk and not going out and doing what they're supposed to be doing, then
And
then we get documented.
the reporting really is, if it's not during a, or we can put it in the minutes, the reporting really is to McEwen, and Mike
Okay.
keeps track of that. Now, I guess if you want to get Mike a special form, fine, but he's very meticulous about what
And I'm
happens
sure
during the
he
week.
does.
And I tell you, most of it ends up right here.
Yeah.
For us, okay? This is what happened this week, and this is what we did, okay? This is the documentation behind the agenda. And, gosh, guys, I mean, yeah.
Well, our weed control and solid waste and
Sure.
road crews and anybody that's out in the field, they're out there doing their job, you
Sure,
know, and they report back to their supervisor.
Okay,
They do.
And then just, you were here when we talked about the dam, okay?
right.
Okay, Bill West looks at that thing every week, if not more, and we get a report, and Mr. Adler files it every week, okay, about the, that's just that one facility, okay, but it is just what you're saying. Any little thing that's wrong with the dam, it's documented. We review it, and it goes in.
Okay.
And it, so, to say a county-wide report, we don't have it, but we have done it, I mean, we just, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're, you
I
know,
would say the dam would be the most meticulous, and
It is,
he's great about it. Every week we do.
every week.
all right.
Okay.
Okay, your emergency preparedness plan, you reviewed it?
Yes.
guys
He
had the
reviewed it with us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and they
And
reviewed it.
completed,
Yep.
revised.
And you guys had the shooter drill. And CPR, you have people certified in CPR first aid.
Yes.
And registered, you guys have an AED? And it's registered with the state, and you guys have a responsible person overseeing it?
Rick,
Yes.
When I took my CPR class, they gave us that.
Yeah.
Well, and even
That's
before
already-
you took it over, I set all
Yeah.
that up with the program and everything, so you guys are all good to go.
So you're doing the monthly checks on the H&G. Alrighty, your hazard communication program is up to date. Do you have a chemical list from all the required departments?
Yes, right out here.
Each area has their own book.
Each area has their own book, but with the written program, you should have a copy of the list of chemicals or the table of content from the books, from those departments, like your weed department, your road department, law enforcement, solid waste. So those are the departments in maintenance that would give you just a copy of their table of content. And those are the chemicals they have. And then that is attached to your chemical list that you have in a written program.
okay.
So we'll just, and we can, I'll just take a look at the SDSs afterwards too, the books out there. Yes for that, but we'll need a chemical list.
I thought we had a chemical list of stuff. Remember when they brought, I don't know, was you working then, maybe it was Barsati? There was a big piece of paper, Brody, remember they brought that chemical stuff, it was downstairs, they went through it all. and
Yeah,
had it all.
I think you guys have it, and maybe Mike would have that.
But it should be with the written program.
So it sounds like
and
the individual departments have their own
They do.
SDS. If
They
we're
do
missing
have their
anything,
SDS.
if we're
but-
missing anything, it would be the table of contents from those individual departments to be passed on to Rick. But they are complying with the SDS sheets at the department, where the road, where the rubber meets the road at the department level.
Like if the fire is down in the hall shop, we're gonna know what's in it. I don't know why Rick needs to have
No, they're just supposed to provide you with their list if there's any changes in chemicals that they might have different. If there's no change, they don't have to give you another list, but you should have a list of those chemicals.
Where'd it say MACo, is this a,
Yeah, it is. Okay,
how are we ever gonna get anything done?
Well, this isn't a full-time job.
No, is MACo gonna pay you to do all this extra you want done?
Oh, God, Trump, please get in here and take away some of these regulations. I know you're working at it, but we gotta have some more.
I mean,
I know,
Pretty here.
it seems like a lot of paperwork, but
it is.
No, it is a lot of
Sit
paper.
there and say it seems like it, holy shit, it is.
We have 53 employees, 53. Most of those, a lot of those aren't even full-time.
I thought I had you pretty well cornered here, but
They're so proud of the work that Rick does, like, come on, add another layer of stupidity here.
so, did you guys do your annual training?
annual training, we do it Monday.
Of the hazard communication, of the required departments, so that would be your road, solid waste. Weed would be the ones required to do hazard communication.
We did do their training, yes. That's right.
Okay, so you have the documentation of the required departments.
I guess same people should not hire another person to get for money. I know, I mean, if we guys will, he's part-time, how are we gonna keep him part-time? You're gonna have him full-time.
It does, as a safety coordinator, you do a lot of work.
Well, sure.
I know that, they work hard. You do, and I understand.
No, you don't
that.
know.
Those retired guys actually want to stay retired.
I'm with you.
I'll second that.
Okay, bloodborne pathogen, you have your written program. And you reviewed annually, revised as needed. You did the required departments and have that training.
Yes.
And then, the lockout takeout, written program. Training done on that?
They went on, they should have it on that, they went on, computer there.
Did they, I don't
Kyle
know.
and Brad and Ray still doing on the lockout tag, so Mike will probably have a
Oh,
document.
they're doing the Brit online, I can check that.
Yeah, I'm sure, I remember talking about doing that lockout. And I see they got a bunch of new lockout tag, or Brody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll check the Brit online. And Mike, a lot of times just does a report and then adds it and shows the documentation of the training. But I can pull it up.
I talked to him first, and I saved me a lot of time.
Yeah.
This was years ago.
Okay, and you guys don't need a hearing conservation. And you have all the documentation of the training, the required training, and training that was done this year, correct?
Yep.
Okay, and the orientation training for employees, Mike is doing that.
does that.
And, you have your return to work policy.
Yes.
I know you guys can train, but just remember to train a new person, well, that we have this and let them know about that. The ocean log 300, was it, the something we posted in February?
Yes.
Okay. So, goals. New goals, and we'll just put down, let's see, there was some that we had to keep. And I'll do the verifying of the sheriff's training. I'll verify that.
If I can be of some help scheduling with him.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
So that's gold is rare.
That's my goal. That's my
So
goal.
I'm not writing down mine.
And then, okay, and then I'll send the pre-trip form, inspection form.
Yeah, you got small enough.
Yes, we do.
Well, just by definition, pre-trip only means like once a day.
Once a
Maybe
day.
once in the morning.
Once in the morning.
That's what you said,
Yeah,
yeah.
as long
If you
as they
think about
have
it,
it
it's-
done
I don't
once in
care
the
how many
morning.
times
Yeah.
they change trucks, if somebody did it in the morning.
And then Paul retains it.
Yeah.
Well, we know that. Do you know that?
I
That
don't
was-
know.
that was making a point. Well, that'd be a goal.
Paul should
What was it be? You're
I
gonna
think
take-
it's, you know, in the hiring, it says, they don't say documentation, but when we hire, they sign the thing saying a big pre-trip in the morning, or just a walk around.
It's actually one of the questions we ask them when we hire them is during the interview, what do you do in the morning when you get
How
in
do
the
you,
truck?
what do you check and
Exactly.
everything?
That's
So,
one of our
it's
questions.
a walk around, I don't know if it's documented, they can, I guess, they always put something up and check, you know, if
Well, we
you
get-
get pre-trip.
Get the
that.
postcard and go from there. So that's probably a goal, get that done.
And then, chemical lists.
So again, just to be clear, the
That's
individual department has their SDS
correct.
inventory.
Right.
And all you need is to have them give
The copy.
a copy of the table of contents to Rick,
Right,
so that,
that's
okay.
all he needs.
I think mainly that'll end up being probably the weed department.
The road has some, solid waste probably has a few. If
But I mean, 90% is gonna be weed.
we, maintenance will have some. Maybe, depends what department they do.
There's,
How we document it.
Yeah, we can take a look at
I
them.
mean, even industrial cleaning compounds are included, so.
Okay, what else do we? Oh, I'll check the grid online, that's what I said.
They said check with Mike first, but I know they did some online stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't,
I
it's,
got their whole list.
yeah, there, he has the list. There you go. He's on top of it.
We're giving it a try at it.
Just need a little more money from me.
You just asked for the one I don't have.
Okay. All right.
We just have the, we just have these two.
Then those two, but I want you guys to come up with a goal that you'd like to accomplish for next year.
We should.
we'll complete the evacuation training for us. We'll complete that.
You have a question or a comment?
Yes, I do.
Question. Go ahead.
How does this report, safety report, fit in with the American Disabilities Act? A couple of weeks ago, we had a woman walking out the front door here. She fell down, and then trying to get ambulance and access to her was quite a bit of a problem. One of the other problems that we have is that there is no access, essentially, well, there's access to this floor and the third floor, but it's not something a handicapped person is going to be able to do. So does this program fit, request or require some kind of handicap provisions, or is that some other program?
This isn't completely different, but I know as long as you have a way for, they have access downstairs. And I know that a lot of the counties, what they do is they, like for instance, if they have to, like vote, they'll have them do it downstairs where they have access.
We've
So-
actually moved meetings downstairs
Stairs,
for a
yeah.
person that,
Right.
And then on the ambulance deal, they're volunteers, so we can't, I mean, ambulance is ambulance, that's volunteer. It's not, I don't know how you can't threaten them, well, if you don't get here, then they're
Yeah.
volunteer.
Yeah.
A clear answer to your question though, this mainly deals with your workers' compensation. If you're talking about ADA compliance, that's its own other set of regulations. There's a whole other thing that you have to do for that.
Okay, thank you.
Does that help?
Yeah, it didn't help that woman, but it's.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying with this as far as more work comp.
If the county has concerns about ADA, we do have, Michelle, we have someone in the office that can help you with that. It's just not a part of Emelia and I do.
Yeah.
But if you'd like us to get you in contact with someone, we sure can.
Does that also have the reports, requests that you fill out? In my particular case, my hearing isn't very good, and to try and hear this meeting, I've kind of got to the point where I've got a request that they have microphones and so that the people could hear them.
Okay, yeah, that's outside the scope again of what we do.
Well, I understand, but do they have the reports or the places where you can file a complaint? Do they have the forms?
We'll check, is all I can say. That's outside of my area of expertise, but let me, who should I report back to?
Report it to Mike.
Yeah.
To MACo.
Okay.
Elena Gagliano, just for the record, could you guys introduce yourselves, please?
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Doug Ardrey, I'm a loss control specialist with MACo.
Thank you.
Emelia McEwen, I'm a loss control specialist with MACo.
Thank you.
I'm Rhodey Holman, and I'm with Payne West Insurance, and we are the broker on the Granite County account.
Brody Lucien, loss prevention specialist, Payne West Insurance.
And
Back over this way. I'm Rick Day, I'm the safety officer and DES coordinator for Granite County.
thank you. And now I have a question, Rick. When you do this, but that you're in charge, that you're in charge of, is that just the employees' safety stuff? Or is that everybody?
At this point, we try to use it, if there's an incident, we try to follow up on it and see if something can be improved. We do a safety inspection.
Okay, so,
Investigation, I guess.
okay, so it's just basically
Well, that's
employees or
basically-
elected officials of the
It's
county?
basically during employment or from employment, if an employee is injured, that's kind of what it's designed for.
Also, the,
We do inspection or accident, what am I trying to say? We do an investigation to determine whether or not there is something that we could do to improve the problem that may have caused it, or to see if there's something.
so that I think is what Emelia is basically saying. This is countywide, and if somebody has a problem, you're the one that should have the reports so that people know who to go to. What I've been hearing is like everybody's got their own reports, and Emelia, is that basically what you're saying? There should be a centralized location?
Centralized report, yeah, that shows that when they are reported, things are taken care of. Just a countywide. That's what I was looking for, and I think we had determined it before, they could use an instant report to fill it out, or you can just have like a form that you would give to maintenance that you identified this, and they would have it documented, corrected.
Do you have a sample of the form that you would like them to use?
Yeah, I can get them.
Because I think that'll clarify, because I think there's some confusion on, you say a report, but there's so many different types of reports that we have. So if you could give them a sample of what you
I will
want to
send
fill out
that.
requirement, that would really help.
Would Rick Day be the one that you consult with for the incident report on that woman's fall, where she fell, and then also the accident with the ambulance, they were hitting the other truck? Would you be the one to report?
Can't get it from the sheriff, probably.
Well, the accident's a law enforcement issue, well, that's the sheriff's department. What happened here, Rick, I'm sure we got that documented.
Mike, Mr. Chairman, Mike had submitted an incident report that we
Incident
submitted
report.
to,
Yeah.
we submitted it to MACo.
Yeah.
So there was a report done and submitted to Mike. So Mike's the contact for that.
I'm sorry, what, I'm sorry, what did you say?
So Mike Cahill is the contact guy, and there's been a report submitted to him, minus the accident, which is the sheriff's responsibility, and he would have an accident report on that.
But you have the incident report on the woman falling.
Okay, so, we got another few minutes here.
Was there a fourth goal set?
Thank you for coming back to that.
Yeah.
Was there a fourth goal?
Yeah, you did say you are going to do an evacuation training.
That was,
That was the third goal.
Third
was the
goal,
third goal.
chemical list,
Second goal,
retain documentation for pre-trip inspections.
first goal,
I guess I just have mine down, verify law enforcement training. And I will also verify,
That's the sheriff's.
yeah, yeah.
well, maybe, documentation for the hazards. Verify that we have the documentation
Well, we have
for
the-
possible
The
hazards.
countywide form.
And
And I'll include that
anti-chemical list.
locally.
Yeah, Emelia can send,
Yeah, I'll send the form,
Emelia
I'll
can send a
send it.
sample form of what
Yeah.
Just,
I need.
yeah, get the forms here and then we can update them or whatever.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
yeah. Right.
So that's the fourth one to get this countywide form.
Other issues?
the only thing I would briefly like to point out is Brody prepared a handout of just some of the things that West has done with respect to working with the county.
One direct has been very.
In conjunction with Rick, so I'll have you pass those out too.
You might give them the resources that you up there when that real work is.
Hang on, Elena.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Is there?
Just a second, he said.
Yeah.
I didn't hear him, sorry.
Just one second.
So again, this is just some of the things that we've tried to help Powell County, or excuse me, Granite County with as it relates to some of the requirements. So, you need that?
I got one from them.
Brody, did you want to touch on any of those, or it's pretty self?
I think we kind of covered everything that we've done throughout Emelia's assessment.
A couple of things we need to move on.
Oh, and I do have just a couple things that, did anybody attend the safety fest?
Not this year, I attended all of the last year, but I didn't attend this year.
Okay.
So they were, it was in Missoula, right?
No,
What was it?
well, there was, it's like Lewistown where it's at.
Oh,
It's
okay.
Lewistown, and then Miles City was one, and then was,
Somebody had, I can't remember which one, they had one in January.
Yeah.
It was kind of odd, so that's, the basic training's kind of moved east, so.
what?
Every time, MACers meets,
Yeah,
we, got the road supervisor and Andy went, Bartlett and I went. There's safety things all the way through that. Every day.
yeah.
And so the road supervisor, hey, you might want to listen to this one, you know that one.
Yeah. Well, there was a couple things, some changes that they made. And so one of the things they identified is that the building dumps are considered non-permit confined space when they are being worked on. So that, and so they're encouraged to have just a written program, but I can send that to you. And it requires that be locked out. So,
Please send us that.
yeah, I
Yeah.
will.
Because we got two of them.
Yeah. And then the other is they, walking surfaces. So I'm not sure on all of it, what the changes were, but because true. But there was some changes in it, so I will, when I.
Share that with us too.
I will share that with you too. Yeah. I plan on attending this, I plan on.
Okay. Elena, did you have a comment?
Yes, thank you. Again, this is just employees of the county. What about the volunteer people who do, like advisory boards, and do they get involved with any of your training? Because if you're involved with one of the advisory boards, usually they meet here in this building. And so if there's training, like if shooter comes in after hours or stuff, shouldn't they be kind of invited to some of these exercises on how to react and, just like points of getting out of the building that maybe they don't know about. After all, we volunteer for the county and we may not get paid, but...
Well, two kinds of volunteers. One are active volunteers like volunteer firemen and volunteer, okay. They're covered by workman's comp, and there is a training program, in their area of activity. Elena, people that come in this building public, our employees are responsible for their safety. So, active shooter, for example, they discussed what the employees will do, but what do you do with the public as well? And how do you move the public? And they're going to move you, and they're going to know what to do, run, hide, fight, okay? And so, for example, in a shooting situation in this building, the employees are going to take over, and they're going to move you. That's what their training is.
Well, I'm saying after hours.
Yeah, I know.
There's nobody here after hours.
I don't think it's I think it's unreasonable for us to train the whole county on every issue that could come up, but it's not unreasonable for us to train our employees in those areas where they're work day to day. But I guess I want to assure you, the training anticipates they're going to be public in the building at the time it goes on, and the employee's responsibility is to know what to do and move the public as well.
I'm saying, as a volunteer for one of these advisory boards, we wouldn't be here at 6 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock at night or 5 o'clock if it wasn't that we're volunteering for an advisory board for the county. And normally there isn't anybody here.
Well,
An employee, maintenance maybe, I don't know.
There are employees here, or you wouldn't have got in here, but there are employees here that have the training that if something should happen. On the other hand, you know what? Our training is open to the public if they want to come.
Well, that's the point, the public should be advised that there is training.
I wouldn't say, no, you're welcome to come, except for the sheriff's training, I think all of ours is.
Yeah, well, that's the point. How do you advise the public that there's
We
training?
did that training upstairs that time, that people could come, and actually some people did show up upstairs when we did that training.
There were like 2 sessions. I went to one
That was a couple of
session.
years ago.
It was in the newspaper?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there should be more
And it's
stuff in
always
the
on the
paper.
That was a
bottom.
couple of years ago.
It's always on the bottom of the agenda, like if we're gonna do, and you're welcome to come to that, sure.
Oh, yeah, I just think that they should be included, and that's about it.
Okay, do you guys have anything else?
No, we're gonna look at documentation and go somewhere there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bruce.
All right.
Thanks.
Amelia, give us those cards.